In the scam home warranty business, the people are represented by two separate but equally lazy groups: the authorization agents who deny claims and smoke like chimneys, and the technicians who lie through their teeth to snag a few extra bucks. These are their stories. Scam Home Warranty proudly presents the top 10 things not to say kitchen appliances Part 1. So, number 10, 9, and 8 are all going to be for cooktops, ovens, and stoves. Starting off with number 10. Number 10. Oven hoods, assemblies, accessories, and venting are not covered. Anything that goes inside of the oven, like a rack or a tray or a meat probe assembly, none of that would be covered. The only covered things that would be physically inside of the oven or range would be those that contribute to the mechanical functioning of the unit. Number 9. The door, any hinges, the handle, or any glass would not be covered on an oven. Basically, the outside part of the oven itself usually isn't covered. Anything that happens to those parts of the oven, for example, a crack in the glass or a broken hinge, none of that would be covered. Number 8, the knobs, the light, or any clocks. But to clarify, when it comes to clocks, that would be only if it's not part of the panel. Most modern ovens are going to have a clock as part of the panel, so that really doesn't apply here, but much older ovens that used to have a standalone analog clock, that standalone part would not be covered. You really don't see that on newer units. They almost always have the same digital display. One last note about ovens in general is that lack of maintenance would preclude any mechanical part from being covered. So if, for example, the burners on the cooktop have failed, but they're covered in grease or maybe rusty or something like that, then they can be denied at that time for lack of maintenance or rust in that occasion. I'd also like to point out that when you have to change something like a burner or an orifice or a holder or something on top of the cooktop, and you end up having to open up the cooktop, it's very rare that a consumer would know that they can open up the cooktop and clean underneath it. So when a technician does it and it's the first time it's been opened in years, it typically looks very messy, and that can give you a denial on the oven. Moving on to your dishwasher for number 7 and number 6. Number 7. Rollers, tracks, trays, and baskets are not covered on the dishwasher. If a roller has become bent or damaged or broken off in some way, or the tray is split, some of the teeth are missing, none of that would be covered. The racks themselves can easily break. That can get jammed up in the spray arm. If something like that were to happen, it could be denied secondary damage because a non-covered failure can make a covered failure not covered by extension. Number 6. The door seal, hinges, handle, and glass. None of these are covered components on a dishwasher. It's possible you're noticing a pattern here because hinges and door seals are basically never covered when it comes to home warranties. Door seals are typically not that expensive, but the failure of a door seal can cause things like water to get into the control board and short it out. You could get water damage to other places in the kitchen. A small leak because of a door seal can turn into a huge problem very quickly. And on top of water damage not being covered, that is also secondary damage and wouldn't be covered as well. One last thing I have to mention about dishwashers is, again, it's very easy to deny for lack of maintenance. It's possible you've never cleaned your dishwasher's filter. You might never have even heard of it. Dishwashers typically have a filter. It would say in your owner's manual, or you could Google the model number, which should be on the inside of the door somewhere. Basically, the filter is there to get all the little pieces of food that get caught up in there. Even if you have a dishwasher that advertises itself as rinse-free, like you don't have to rinse off your plates before putting them in there, that food is going to go somewhere, and that somewhere is the filter. Over the years, the filter can become extremely clogged and messy. This will allow food particles to remain in the unit in between washes. So if you have a dishwasher that isn't getting things as clean as it used to, It might not be a failure of the sprayer arms or anything like that. It could be working perfectly fine. But because the filter is clogged, it's letting the other stuff in there get in with the next wash, and nothing's getting as clean as it should be. Another telltale sign of a clogged filter is a smell. Dishwashers really shouldn't smell like anything. It's a sterile environment depending on what kind of load you're running. So if you're noticing a lingering odor, especially on dishes that are otherwise clean, you may need to check the filter. Oh, it goes without saying the filter isn't covered. Even if it was covered, that would be a lack of maintenance denial as well. Number 5 and number 4 both deal with garbage disposals. Number 5 is a tricky one. Scam Home Warranty only covers permanently installed garbage disposals. Now, what is a permanently installed garbage disposal? It's kind of an inside term that we use to deny units that we don't like. 90% of consumers, maybe even higher, are going to have a garbage disposal that is a plug-in model. However, there are other models that come built in. What that really means is that the unit is hardwired underneath the sink. Rather than plugging into the wall, the wires itself are going right into the electrical system. These are extremely rare. I've seen very few out of hundreds of garbage disposals. But technically, if it is a plug-in model, it can be argued that that is not a permanently installed unit. It's typically not worth the effort to deny a garbage disposal for being not permanently installed because a new one would be so cheap to put in. Most technicians can put in a new one for about $200 at the cost of the warranty, and that is not a bad deal, all things considered. Most plumbers will have a garbage disposal on their truck. They can get this done in minutes. It's a very simple process. Number 4 is jams due to abnormal conditions. I'm sure you've done it. We've all done it. You drop a fork or a spoon or a knife into the garbage disposal. It makes that clanging sound. You get it out. Your fork has some chips in it, but otherwise it's working fine. But over the years, that happens a couple of times too many, or maybe you have a kid in the house or you weren't paying attention. You can damage, bend, or otherwise break the blades inside of the unit, causing more stress on the motor, making it run unbalanced, causing failure. The policy describes abnormal items as something that shouldn't be put in a garbage disposal. So aside from kitchen utensils, that could also mean animal bones or something tough, but even something that might normally be able to go in there, for example, like an apple core, if it's not cut up, could cause it to jam. Do be careful about keeping utensils out of the garbage disposal. Oh, just as an addendum, something that should be said about garbage disposals as a whole is that continuous feed garbage disposals are the only ones covered. Batch feed models are not covered. Batch feed models are extremely rare. If you have a switch on the wall or a button that causes the disposal to come on and off, then that's a continuous model. Batch feed garbage disposals are typically used in a commercial environment. It's very rare for a consumer to have one. So number 3, 2, and 1 all deal with microwaves. Number 3. Only built-in microwaves are covered. Now, built-in means that it's part of a cabinet or it's installed above a range. This really just means that countertop units aren't covered. It's also worth noting that toaster ovens are not covered, but it's very rare that a customer is confused about the difference between a toaster oven and a microwave, so they would be unlikely to call the claim in the first place. It should be noted, although this was brought up during oven coverage, that any venting associated with a microwave, for example, if it's part of a hood on an oven, that would not be covered. Venting is always excluded when it comes to appliances. Number 2, racks, trays, rotisseries, and the door itself are all excluded along with hinges and the handle unless the door is also the control panel. If you have a microwave that has a control panel that is not part of the door and the door just has some glass on it, the glass itself, the door, the hinges, none of that's covered. But if the buttons are on the door itself, then that would be covered. However, if there was damage to the glass, that would also be excluded. Glass is never covered, whether it's on a microwave or an oven or a dishwasher. Any accessories that go in the microwave wouldn't be covered. It's also worth pointing out that a convection microwave, the convection motor, isn't covered. Saving the best for last, number 1, arcing or power surge. This is the most common denial for microwaves. If you don't know what arcing is, it's when you see blue lightning within the unit. Maybe you accidentally microwaved a fork, you put a bowl in the microwave that has some silver lining on it. So arcing is very obvious when it happens. A technician can almost always tell if the microwave has failed due to arcing. Evidence for arcing would be peeling paint. The paint inside of a microwave shouldn't peel unless it's been arced. Any kind of rust on the inside of the microwave could be a sign of arcing as well. In simple terms, arcing is when a magnetron dies. You need to understand that a microwave doesn't have a whole lot of moving parts. And a magnetron might sound fancy, and it kind of is. It's what causes the food to heat up in the first place. When a magnetron fails, the microwave is almost always ruined permanently. If you've ever gone to a thrift store or the Salvation Army and you see a microwave on sale for like $5, it's almost always because the magnetron has failed. In almost every situation, the magnetron is worth more than the microwave. I would like to point out that the microwave is the cheapest unit to buy out, but even then, it is cheaper to deny the claim for arcing rather than provide the customer with funds to buy a new unit in every circumstance. And thank you for joining us here once again for another Top 10 Things You Shouldn't Say video. The topic of today's video was decided by a subscriber poll over on Reddit. If you would like to follow Scam Home Warranty on other social media, we do have a Twitter that you can follow, an Instagram that you can follow, a Twitch that you can subscribe to, a Discord that you can join, and of course our Patreon, where you can become a member of the Scam Home Warranty family for as little as $1 a month. That's all that you need to get in the door. I'd like to thank our Tier 3 sub, D_B, for being with us from the very beginning. Couldn't do it without you. And all of our friends over on Reddit, where you can view all of these stories and more as they appear there first before being put on YouTube. Links are in the description for all of the other social media accounts that you can follow. So thank you for joining us. I hope that you learned something new. If you're having trouble with any of your kitchen appliances, let me know in the comments. I'll see what I can do to help. Well, that's all for today. I hope to see you all in the next one.